What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. I'm about to be on my blurred shit, my geek shit right now. We going geek them. All right, we gotta talk about some geek shit. All right, enough serious stuff. We gotta talk about some geek shit. All right, now, anime. All right, this black guy you about to listen to, he's sitting there and he talking about the Great Shift. And I'm not quite sure if I agree with him. I'm looking at his age. I'm pretty sure I'm a little older than him, right? But I'm not sure if I agree with him, right? But he's making some points. Now, he did make one good point. There was a time when, you know, the geekdom, all right, of anime was just too much for the black culture, because we was too cool to be watching some damn anime. But everybody was watching it. Your hardest thug was in the house watching anime. He just didn't tell nobody. And all of us was in the closet. Everybody was in the closet. You know, we was like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? You watched that Naruto episode 5? You were like, yeah. You tell anybody? Yeah, you know. You know what I'm saying? It was like something you had to talk about in the corner because you ain't want everybody to know, right? But now everybody know that we been watching anime. Your thuggiest thug was all in the goddamn Powerpuff Girls. Like, that's not even anime. I was watching Powerpuff Girls. Goddamn Sailor Moon too, and she can probably kick everybody's ass. To be honest, she'll take 23 minutes to do one move. All right, that was the whole show, and I was watching that shit. All right, but listen, all right, anime. All right, there was a time, because I'm telling you, black people are the ones who uplifted anime in America. It was us. We was the ones putting batteries in the back of everybody when it came to anime, right? But it was always in the closet because nobody wanted to admit that they was anime watchers because it was so geekish. But we didn't care because the stories we resonated with. We resonated with the stories, right? Because for some reason, these people who write anime write real stories, and they have real coming to age, you know, stories that we can relate to, real struggle that we can relate to, not that whitewash, you know, Superman, I'm a white dude, all powerful, you know, even though I'm an alien, but I'm a white dude, all powerful American, and I can defeat anything because my plot armor is made of fucking titanium and diamond. Okay? Like in anime, your plot armor will still get you murked. All right, straight up. All right, but anyway, let's listen to what this guy got to say. Y'all tell me in the comment section, all my blurs, all my geeks, is this guy correct? All right, anyway, that's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
I'm sick and tired at the amount of great anime shift revisionist history that I see on this app. A lot of you guys don't understand how anime became cool, how it flowed into the mainstream. But as a veteran, somebody that was actually there during the dark ages, I know how this actually went down. So worry not, because today I'm going to be teaching you with this, the Great Anime Shift timeline. Because unbeknownst to a lot of people, the Great Anime Shift actually wasn't one singular event. No. It was 3, marked within this period of time called the Shift Period. And/or Shifting Period. I'm gonna use them both interchangeably throughout the course of this video. Anyway, before I talk about the timeline itself, the Shift Period, I first have to talk about a little anime that came out all the way back in 2013. Attack on Titan. Now, a lot of people like to credit Attack on Titan as being the start of the Great Shift. However, that's not actually what happened. Attack on Titan, although very popular, was on a list of other anime that I would like to refer to as Dark Age anime. Now, the Dark Ages is what I would like to describe as that period of time where anime was really popping. However, because mainstream Western culture wasn't at the place to where it could fully accept it, a lot of anime was still seen as something that was generally pretty weird. Like if you showed somebody Attack on Titan during the Dark Ages, you probably get a comment like, why are you showing me a bunch of naked giant monsters trying to eat people? Well, because it's peak fiction. But they weren't ready to hear that. Why? Because the table wasn't set for them to fully accept peak fiction. But if not Attack on Titan, what was going to set the table? And/or who was going to set the table? Well, much like most other things that become cool in the West, it all starts with black people. People like me. A lot of us really liked anime growing up. Characters like Naruto and Goku from Dragon Ball Z were a core part of our identity. However, a lot of us were closet anime fans. Like we knew that other black people liked anime, but out of fear of being judged, we kind of just kept quiet about it. However, if we were to all unite under our love for anime, everything would change. And so we needed some pioneers, someone or a group of people who were able to go out in front of everybody else and say, hey, you know what? I like anime. What are you gonna do about it? Which leads us to boom, the first Great Anime Shift Nexus event. The release of When People Take Anime Too Far, Part 2 and/or Part 3. I remember where I was when this video series first dropped. My friend ran into the room and showed me a video of Benson getting knocked out after he poured a cup of water on Desmond. It was from that moment where me, as well as many other black kids across the country, became fans of RDC. Now, I'm not gonna lie, if I were to stand here and map out the full impact of RDC World on the anime community, I would literally fill up this whole entire whiteboard. which is exactly why I got another one. You see, what RDC World was kind of a Roman road, connecting many different parts of the Black community and or wider pop culture under one community. And through that, they were able to commit themselves to a great trade. And so now sports fans knew about anime and hip hop fans were put onto anime. And slowly but surely, anime was able to make its way through pop culture. However, it wasn't just RDC. A bunch of other content creators around this same time were also starting to lock in and make anime content. Creators like King Vader, Caleb City, Lean In Cuisine started to push out content that encouraged the Black community to accept anime at large, eventually culminating into the creation of DreamCon. And guess what? I was there, boy, I was there. Look at me go, y'all, running around asking people a bunch of questions. What a time. But anyway, speaking of content creation, when it comes to the great anime shift, we cannot ignore one of the biggest things that ever happened in content creation in general, which of course marks the second Nexus event, when ByteDance acquired Musical.ly and combined it with their app, TikTok. TikTok pretty much changed the game for the anime community, doing three things I think especially very well. The first thing is, of course, trends. Through trending audio, maybe even anime edits, anime was able to reach more people subliminally without them going out of their way to look for it. Another thing that TikTok was able to do was spread clips far and wide. So now, instead of people having to click on a longer YouTube video to hear about a cool anime, all they would have to do is just scroll on their For You page and come across a cool Sakuga clip. And last but of course not least, arguably the most important thing that TikTok did was show how many drop dead gorgeous people were also into anime. I cannot tell you how many dudes hated on anime until they saw how many baddies were fans of it. So shout out to all the baddies out there, you really changed the anime community. But what were all of these new anime fans going to watch? Well, in 2018, that very same year, Attack on Titan Season 2 came out. And now that the table was set, a lot of people were a lot more open to it. But however, I would say that even Attack on Titan wasn't the biggest gateway anime that came out during this time. Because in 2019, another anime came out that would literally take the world by storm. An anime so massive that it made its manga one of the top 10 best-selling manga of all time. Of course, you know what I'm talking about. Ufotable's Demon Slayer. And now that clips of anime were very easily shareable through TikTok, Demon Slayer blew up and essentially became the most recognizable Great Shift anime. It was at this point where I recognized that anime was on its way to doing big things, and it was starting to move its way into the mainstream. However, I was yet to behold the third Great Anime Shift Nexus event that would essentially take anime to a new height. And of course, when this thing happened, I think a lot of people can all agree that their mental health had took a beating. The first episode of Jujutsu Kaisen. Just kidding, of course, I'm talking about lockdown. Now, we all essentially knew what happened during lockdown. A lot of people were stuck inside and they needed new things to do. And so a lot of people who had been hearing about anime throughout the course of the shifting period were finally given the time to come into it. And at that time, October 3rd, Jujutsu Kaisen had released. And together with Demon Slayer, they both partnered up to introduce a whole lot of people into the anime community. And oh yeah, I would say that there was also a One Piece revival that happened during this time. Like before 2020, everybody hated on One Piece until they actually gave it a try. Now, a lot of people credit lockdown as being the great anime shift moment. However, lockdown and what happened within it wouldn't be where it was if it wasn't for TikTok and people spreading anime. And people wouldn't have been as emboldened to talk about anime if it wasn't from the push from the Black community that essentially came from RDC World. And so each of these Nexus events stacked up upon one another, leading to anime finally becoming mainstream in 2021. At that time, I would say that a lot of people were let out from lockdown and were looking for new things to talk about to connect with one another again. And I think that one of those things was, of course, anime. Especially Attack on Titan Season 4, which was currently airing during that time. And so yeah, that's where I would say anime finally found its way into the mainstream. So now we have the Dark Ages, the shift period, but where are we at right now? Well, I would say that right now we're at the legacy building era, where even though now anime's in the mainstream, we're trying to make it take up space in the mainstream. And of course, with recent box office hits like the Chainsaw Man movie and obviously the Infinity Castle movie, I would say that we're well on the way. We honestly just need a couple of dubs and boom, we're there. But anyway, go ahead and let me know what you guys think in the comments. Was there anything that I missed? Please let me know. But until then, it's been your boy Fitz. Thanks for coming to class. Peace out and have a great day.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.